My next guest has been gardening since she was able to use a trowel. She is now a gardener extraordinaire, author, speaker, and tomato expert, all at the age of 15. Emma is here to share some tips on how to get started on growing your own tomato plants. Emma, I'm so happy to have you with us. Apparently, there are over 15,000 tomato varieties.
Yeah, Tracy, there are more than 15,000 different tomato varieties, and that's one of the things that I love so much about them. I mean, fresh homegrown tomatoes taste fantastic, which anyone who's tried one can definitely tell you. They're super fun, super easy to grow, but just the fact that there are that many varieties that a home gardener can try is another great thing about them.
I agree 100%. Now, where did this love of tomatoes and gardening stem from?
Yeah, well, you know what? My dad is a gardener and he has been his whole life. So when I was little, he would always get me out into the garden doing things that are fun for a little kid. Things like pulling carrots. And as I've grown up, it's just been a huge part of my life and I keep doing it today. And then more specifically, the reason why I got into growing tomatoes is actually because there are so many varieties. I found out that there were lots of really neat ones out there and I wanted to grow as many as I possibly could. The very first year that I got excited about tomatoes, I grew a variety called Great White Blues that's actually white on the bottom and blue on the top. It looks pretty fantastic, and just realizing that there's all those fun varieties that I could try at home made me want to grow as many as I could.
That is very cool. I don't even think I've ever seen that tomato, a blue tomato, blue and white. That's cool. I love your passion. So how do we get started on planting the perfect tomato plant? Can you walk us through it?
So it's pretty easy to grow tomatoes. So I'm going to start off by saying it's getting to the later end of the time when you should be planting tomatoes. So if you're going to do it, I would start pretty soon. And before you get to the actual planting, you need to decide what type of seeds you're going to plant, because there are so many types of tomatoes out there. And now on to the planting. So the first thing you're going to need is a container. So not everyone's going to have pots at home, so you can use something like an egg carton, a yogurt container, but the most important thing is to make sure that it just has holes on the bottom for drainage. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up 3/4 of the way full with a good quality potting mix, kind of like that. And then I'm going to take some of my tomato seeds. These seeds are actually saved from my garden. And then I'm going to put them into my hand and just sprinkle them on top of the soil about 3 centimeters apart, like that. And once they're about 3 centimeters apart on my soil, I'm going to put about another centimeter of soil. On top of that, I'm going to put a label in here, and a label is really important for growing tomatoes because there are so many different varieties out there. You want to remember what you planted, and then the very last step is just taking your watering can and giving your tomatoes some water, and then you can put them in a nice warm place, and within maybe about 5 days they should germinate.
That is very cool and very easy, and I can see a lot of kids getting involved with starting a tomato plant because you can start it inside really small, and then once they get a little bit bigger, what do you have to do?
So once the tomatoes get maybe 4 or 5 centimeters tall, since you're planting them pretty close together, what you should do is pull them out of that container, all of them together. So they'll look kind of like this, and you can pull them out of that container and just separate the little seedlings. Tomatoes can handle a little bit of punishment, so pull them apart and then pot them up into their own little container.
Okay, so we know you love tomatoes, and you're obviously a pro. What would be your second or third favorite veggies to plant, whether they're super easy, low maintenance, or you just enjoy planting them?
I mean, I love growing so many different things. One of the things I love so much about gardening is all the variety of things that you can grow. I think I have about 30 varieties of bean seeds that I want to try growing this year. So I love beans, and I've somehow ended up with a whole bunch of different varieties. Not only your regular green ones as well. I have a neat variety called Dragon's Tongue, which is a flat-potted yellow bean that has purple streaks on it. And there's lots of really neat ones out there. So I think that beans are probably my second favorite.
I just see your career growing and growing and growing like a successful tomato plant. Emma, you are fantastic. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.